Threshold fear. That feeling right before crossing into unknown territory. When something feels scary simply because it's unfamiliar. This paint job definitely had an intimidating threshold. During the design phase, I got the idea to paint the sides of the pedal board with a high gloss paint job to mimic a Fender guitar. But when I dove down the YouTube rabbit hole to figure out how to actually do it, I came up for air wondering what had I gotten myself into. The lacquer paint job would require well over 50 steps, involving 20 coats of sealer, color, and clear gloss finish. Luckily, StuMac, which offers luthier tools and supplies, has a huge body of knowledge regarding building or repairing stringed instruments. They have a 3-part series linked below that shows you exactly what you need to do to get a professional quality guitar finish at home using aerosol lacquers. A ton of the work to pull off this paint job was actually prep work. I sanded up to 320 grit, rounded the corners with a 1/4-inch radius bit with my router, and then used chalk to make sure the corners were sanded perfectly smooth and the transition from round to flat was eased to create organic flowing lines. After cleaning the pieces with compressed air and a paper towel spritzed with mineral spirits, it was time to apply the grain filler. It's a 2-to-1 filler to water ratio mixed to the consistency of ketchup. After thoroughly mixing, I apply the grain filler with a paintbrush. While maple is a closed pore wood, I still wanted to do a pore fill to account for any slight indentations in the wood that would otherwise become obvious after the paint is applied. After 24 hours, I sanded things smooth with 320 grit sandpaper and a 3M 7447 Scotch-Brite pad. Even at this early stage, I started to see my work paying off. One of the things I learned from the StuMac videos is the importance of figuring out how you are going to hold your piece during all 20 coats. I built a quick little frame that served 2 purposes. It covered the mortise holes, which prevented them from being contaminated with lacquer, and it also made it easy for me to flip the piece around on my sawhorses. One major challenge I had to solve was where to do the paint job. Aerosol guitar lacquer is extremely noxious stuff, and I didn't want to fill my house with it. And I also didn't want to shut my shop down during the multi-week paint job. This was a good excuse to clean out my shed and use a mobile spray booth that Wagner sent me. After a bit of the usual tent wrangling, I slid the tent into my shed, which felt unusually perfect for this task. The next challenge was lighting. Luckily, I bought an inverter for a winter market I worked at last year and used one of my video LEDs to light my work. The inverter allows you to use up to 4 DeWalt batteries to power a single outlet or power a flashlight. It was pretty exciting when the first coats of sealer started to transform the surface of the wood. After letting the 3 coats of sealer dry for 24 hours, I denibbed the surface with the 7447 pad and cleaned it again with mineral spirits before moving on to color. It's important to warm the bottle for 15 minutes to make sure the solution is less viscous and get a more consistent spray. And just when I was so excited to spray the vintage white color, the can sprung a bad leak, as well as my language. After trying to fix the can several times, I gave up hope. Thankfully, StuMac rushed me a new can at no extra cost and no questions. After a brief delay, I was able to start laying on the color. You want to go relatively light on these coats with a 50% overlap on each stroke. Light passes prevents any drips or runs, and since I'm doing 3 coats of color, it's okay if the first coat is blotchy. After the second coat, I noticed the surface was a bit rough, so I knocked down any dust nibs or overspray texture with a 1000 grit sandpaper. When sanding a finicky finish like this, it's important to get sandpaper that's got a P on it. P refers to the Federation of European Producers of Abrasives grading system, which standardizes abrasive grit sizes. This means you won't have an errant grain of lower grit size in your sandpaper. After the third coat of color, I denibbed the surface once more, this time with a non-abrasive pad, and cleaned things up before moving on to the 14 coats of gloss finish. It was about 5 coats into applying the clear gloss finish that I finally thought, hey, this isn't that bad. I think this is because at this point I was halfway and one step. Once you've reached the halfway point, the next step, even if it seems small, makes it easier to continue to the end than to turn back. Which is good, because I was nervous about wet sanding. After 9 coats of clear gloss finish, you do your first round of wet sanding using 800 grit paper. This creates a smooth, level foundation for the rest of the finish to lie on top of. To get good results, I pre-soak the sandpaper in water with a bit of soap added to prevent clogging during use. It's critical to avoid sanding all the way through to the bare wood, but this is tricky along the edges where it's especially easy to burn through your finish. Despite my best efforts, I actually did sand through the finish on my first round. That moment hurt, but the good news is it's repairable. With a nitro finish, each coat melts into the previous one. You can spray color in between clear coats if you make a mistake. Lay the color back down and continue. It's all part of the process. I clean things up with mineral spirits, add 3 more coats of clear gloss finish, repeat the previous wet sanding process, and then add the final 2 coats of finish. Now comes one of the hardest parts for me, waiting. The finish needs 2 weeks to cure before final sanding and buffing. Nitro lacquer is mostly VOCs. Only a thin layer remains after they evaporate. Each coat melts into the last, shrinking and hardening as it cures. Now that the finish has fully cured, I wet sand all the way up to 3000 grit. I actually ditched the sanding block this time. Holding the paper by hand gave me a better feel than the wooden block, and let me see the surface more clearly. I found that successful wet sanding was less about what I was seeing, which is what I usually rely on when sanding wood, and more about what I was feeling and hearing. The tug on the paper would change when I'd sanded enough. It would shift from feeling rough to having more of a swooshy, gliding sound when it was time to move on. After sanding, I buffed the guitar using polishing compounds applied with a foam rotary pad in my hand drill. After cleaning, the finish was finally done. Now for the step that I'm really nervous about, routing a big hole through this finish to insert my brass branded medallion.